I'd like to welcome everybody today to another special edition of Lunch with Layne. And I'm here with my good and great friend, Alfredo Sarduy, Esquire. I'm so happy, Alfredo, you've joined the bar now, and you worked in our office, Student Legal Services, know us all extremely well. Thank you for taking the honor to join us today. Let me introduce you real quick. Special awards, that you had. You graduated cum laude, is that right?
That's correct.
From
Barely, but it may happen somehow.
I love it. No, that's very respectable. Thank you for that. You're so humble too on it. You were recognized for your pro bono work, and you actually got the book award too in corporate taxation.
That's
that
correct.
Right? Yeah.
Corporate tax. Of all the courses, I could have gotten one. It was
and
in corporate
what I was
tax.
going to say, one of the most difficult courses I consider. So congratulations on that. And now you're working with the Ward Law Group.
That's right.
Is that right? And it's located, is it Miami Lakes?
Yep, Miami Lakes.
Miami Lakes in Florida. Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about the practice areas of the Ward Law Group and what you're doing there?
Well, in the Ward Law Group here, we do some bodily injury, right? So car accidents. If you get injured in a car accident, we do that. We also do slip and falls. And you slip, hurt yourself, right? And maybe in the Publix, there was some transitory substance there, maybe some liquid that was there for a week, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Slip, get hurt.
It happens.
We do slip and falls as well. And now we're doing dog bites, but that's a new one that we're kind of dipping our toes into. Wow. Always expanding the practice into new tort cases, essentially.
Yeah. I think all of those are fascinating areas. And remember, like I was telling you before, Alfredo, I think you're excellent at this. You're excellent at narratives, doing stories, right? And describing, I think, the plights of people and the hardships that they've been going through. So I think you're a natural fit, for this type of law. And I'm so happy for you. Before I go on gushing, let me ask you about this. Where did you go to law school?
Well, you know that already, University of Florida, right? Where I got the privilege to enter for the great and awesome Layne pre-board for a whole summer.
Thank you. Yeah, for a wonderfully, and it was a busy summer that year too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thank you for all your help, especially during that summer. I can definitely say Alfredo was the type of person that never ran away from any case, did the deep dive on the cases, and you worked late with me.
There were times I wanted to, let me be honest.
Okay, we had some.
I don't have to head off the door, but yeah, you gotta stick to it. You can't run away. Can't show weakness. No, that's not turning.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Alfredo. I love your can-do attitude. No weakness at all. You kept telling me that. Maybe I was the one that wanted to run away, I think sometimes. And you're like, Layne, get back here. Why did you choose UF Law? Well,
they didn't be honest, they gave me a hell of a good scholarship. So that was one of it. But it's also here in my state. I'm a Florida man, first and foremost. It's my home, it's where I live, and I really don't think I'm ever gonna leave the state. I love this place, right? So when the University of Florida gave me an opportunity, I was like 100% going straight there. I also like the place. Lots of trees, lots of squirrels and little animals running around. So it was a good place to live also. And it's full of wonderful people like Layne here, so you can't complain, right?
Alfredo, you are invited back every time. Anytime I need these wonderful positive affirmations from you. You were mentioning the squirrels. I know our international students, that's actually something that they mention. They're like, hey, look at that over there. And I'm like, what? Is it behind the squirrel or what? Because we see squirrels every day, right? Did you think it was cute though? Like a nice area in Gainesville?
I really like the atmosphere of Gainesville for sure. Right, the air is nice and clean. I like walking around the town, right? So
you did, and you're running around town too. Yeah,
100%, right? One of the things I love to do in Gainesville, right? We just go somewhere. I do know the UF gives you you can use your ID to exit the bus for free, right?
Yeah.
So that gave me quite a bit of an opportunity. I could just go into a bus and go somewhere, right? I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's gonna go somewhere. And I got to see a lot of Gainesville that way. And that was something real fun for me to do when I was doing law school. And so 100%, right? I love Gainesville. I love the atmosphere. I love the people there. I also love the squirrels, like I told you, right? And the armadillos and the turtles and the raccoons. There's lots of them, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
foxes. Don't forget about the foxes.
We've got the foxes too. Yeah, you're right. As well, right? You got to see one every day. Um, let me ask you about your law school experience.
Mm.
What did you think of law school?
Well, it was a good experience, right? It's hard at first, right? Because you're not used to it. First year you get a little scared. That's normal, right? That's normal for everybody.
Oh yeah,
So don't think that's gonna be it's gonna stay like that, right? As you get more used to it, you get used to what the law school is, what it requires of you. It gets easier and easier, right?
right.
And you get better at it. And ultimately, it changes you as a person, right? By the time you get out there, you think differently, you do things differently, you analyze differently, and it essentially prepares you to be a good attorney, right? The education in UF is excellent, 100%. There's a reason why they're ranked where they are, right? In the top 50, the top 30, top 20. Um, and I can't complain at all. I have nothing but good things to say about UF for sure.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
we really do appreciate that. I think the world of our law school too, as well, right? I'm a product of it, right? Alicia and Ray, right? And John, LSU, but we forgive him, right? For that. Um, Let me ask you about your legal career. You just
Mhm.
got started.
Yeah.
Tell me about what's it been like? How long have you been working? Florida bar, if you want to talk about taking the exam too,
Yeah.
anything
No,
for
oh,
our
for
students, they
sure.
would love to hear this.
For sure. Right. So my Florida bar experience was a bit unique. Well, not necessarily unique, but it was different from previous years, right? It's the same kind of experience for everybody who graduated in 2020, essentially. As we all know, we had the pandemic, right?
Right.
So taking the bar was a little different than any other year. Yeah, you take the bar in July, and in July, you get your results sometime in August, and by September you have a job and you're ready to go. So for us, it was a little different, right? For class of 2020, not exactly. You take the exam in October, get your results in November, and then in January you can probably start working. Because it kind of the holidays, they're not really hiring. You can send your resume, they'll look at it, but they won't really get to you until January when they really start, to get new staff. So that's how it was for me, right? In the meantime, I did Uber and all kinds of odd things to make some money, right? That's how I survived
Yeah. Yeah.
during that period. But I started working as an attorney in January, right? Uh, Took the bar in October. It got delayed a few times. Delayed first from July to August, and then again all the way to October. Took it in October. Had my results at the end of
Ye-
November, and then in January I was working, and I started here working at the War Law.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. No, Alfredo, yeah, your work ethic is amazing. Like you said, you didn't have the law job quite yet, right? Uber or whatever you do, to
Mhm.
survive, you keep working, on it. Hey, can you give us any tips for our law students? And I don't know if you can talk about it. What made you get hired? What do you think did it?
Well, apart from my nicely crafted resume, um,
And that you're
I
a
guess, yeah.
wonderfully nice person. Yeah.
Well, in my case, once I got the interview, right, and I went in there, and it depends, right? Sometimes they like, sometimes they don't. You're about to get rejected from a few places. I did have a few interviews before I finally got the job. But once there's a right fit for you out there, right? So once I found the right fit, it was just a matter, I went to the interview, we had a good conversation, I talked about my resume, but we also talked about each other as a person, right? And what we
Right.
believe in and this and that. And they gave me the job right there, right? Right at the interview. You're hired. I said, excellent. I start tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's what happened. And but for new student, no, new lawyers essentially, right? You just passed the
Right.
bar, you're looking for a
Right.
job, and don't get discouraged. It's normal to get rejected from different places. That's just the way it is as far as hunting for a job is concerned. It's normal, right? You apply 30 places, maybe 10 of them will call back, and five will give you an interview ultimately, and maybe you get one or two, and then there you go, right? And that's just the way it is for most people, right?
Yeah.
So don't get discouraged. Keep at it, and you'll find a place that fits for you, right? And that's what happened to me. I found a place that fits for me well. The people here are good to me, right? And we get along, and no, I can't complain honestly. It's been good.
Thank you for that encouragement. Yeah, it's exactly like what you said. You get rejected 25 times and you're like, "Oh, I don't think I can do the 26th time." And like you said, that may be the time, right? Thank you for the inspiration for our students on that. Um, Organizations that you have belonged to or recommend. I know you were on a journal at the law school. Is
Yeah.
that right? Yeah,
Yeah, the several journals at the University of Florida, right? The Law
right.
Review, International Relationships. I was in the Technology, Law and Policy journal.
Yeah.
And what I did there, I edited articles, make sure they were well written, that the footnotes were correct. And at the end, I got to write a very long paper on the prop technology law, right? Some people wrote on stem cells. Honestly, I don't remember what I wrote. It's like a blur to me. I actually
You do
remember,
so much work, I know, right? It's hard to
you
remember
know,
everything.
it wasn't the only large paper I wrote either. I wrote another one for my class in advanced bankruptcy, right? Which I also took besides corporate tax, right? I took advanced bankruptcy as well. And for that paper, I do remember it was about bankruptcy laws across jurisdictions, right? And how it works, across different states and at a federal level, right? Somewhat something like that, right? And I still have it saved. I have it saved somewhere in my computer. In case I have to revisit it someday. Um,
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. Um, can I ask you, if our students are interested in becoming a personal injury attorney, bodily injury attorney, what do you recommend they do? Um, what has helped you out in the pursuit?
well, in my case, when I was in law school, I actually did a lot of tax law and bankruptcy, and I still was able to get the foot in the door here, right?
Yeah,
And so it's okay, right? Even if in law school you did a bunch of something else, right? You studied a lot of, I don't know, like I did, lots of bankruptcy or lots of tax, or maybe lots of criminal, right? That doesn't mean that when you graduate you can, move to a different field. It's fine, right? You're a new attorney.
right.
You're gonna be learning a lot of things, and it's a learning process. It's normal. And when you first start out, right, the idea is to get a mentor, right? Somebody who's gonna help you out and sort of teach you the ropes. For me, he was one of the attorneys here, the War Law Group. His name is Gatil Navarro. Giving him a shout out there in case he sees the video. And I call him the professor every time I see him. It makes him blush. Makes me
I
want to do it even more.
that's great. I
So,
think I know
so
I
he's,
think
he's
yeah.
yeah. So he's the individual that really taught me, the basics of injury protection, well, personal injury, right, law, and or bodily injury law, whatever you want to call it. And of course, I did my own research, and every day I learn something new, right? Something I'm missing, I ask a question. Always ask a lot of questions. Never be afraid to do so, especially when you're a new attorney and you're just starting out a job. Ask questions, right? All the time to the senior attorneys. They know a lot, right? And they can teach you a lot. So never fail to take advantage of that. You need it, right?
Right.
And other than that, there's all kinds of networking events out there that you can go to, right? You can talk to
Right.
attorneys. People are happy to help you, really. If you reach out to somebody, they'll be help you tell you about what to do, right? For example, I don't mind, right? You can call me, right? And I'll tell you
Yeah.
what's going on. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you how the
Attorneys love to give advice, don't they?
yeah, they do. That's what we do for a living, in a sense,
Right.
right?
Right. We get paid for that. Yeah.
Yeah, apart from making arguments and going to court, right? We also advise people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm putting in a note in the system, like I advise this or this other thing, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, never be afraid to reach out, right? And talk to people who are in the field and asking for advice and what you should do and what's the best way to approach things for sure. And yeah, be afraid to do that. It's always important to always do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to talk to you a little bit about hardships that you've had in your life, and how you've overcome them. Um,
Well, for me, it's important to keep a positive attitude, right? And just take a deep breath. That's always my thing, right? There's a problem, take a deep breath and deal with, it, right? And don't let it bug you down if you can, right? Because life can be hard sometimes. It's just the reality of the situation. It's the same for everybody, right? It's about how you handle it, how you take it, how you interiorize it, right? And so keep a clear mind and don't let it, take you off your game. Take a deep breath and you'll see the solution is going to show up. There's always everything has a solution, right? The only thing that doesn't have a solution is death. That's the end game, right? That's it.
right.
But
Right.
everything else that's it can be resolved in one way or the other, right? And there's also this saying that a professor in high school, criminal professor. He'll say, well, there's a problem, right? Can you do something about it? Yes. Well, then don't worry about it. You can do it. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
There's a problem. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay, then don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. So it is what it is, right?
Right.
so
Right.
so why worry about it, right? Either
Oh, that's a
way,
good. Yeah. Either way, right? You're
yeah.
good.
If there's nothing you can do about it, it is what it is, right? And if there's something you can do about it, then great. It's just a matter of doing it, and you're good to go. And so yeah, keeping a good attitude about things is very important, right? And
Yeah.
of course, always take a deep breath. You need oxygen
Yeah.
to live, so
Yeah.
never forget to breathe.
It's when you take the deep breath, is that like a kind of a very quick meditative moment for
It
you
is,
where you
yeah. It's like
reflect
a
on things
reset,
before you just
essentially.
react,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
100%. Right. You breathe in, you think about things, and you have to as an attorney, right? And because there's a certain level of scrutiny when it comes to the law, right? And attorneys, and if anybody knows the Florida bar, they're pretty, big on that, right? You gotta be ethical
Yeah.
always. You're an attorney no matter where you go, whether that's in the office or you're at the beach, enjoying the sun, and you're still an attorney, right? So everything you do and everything you say, you gotta be calm about it and act in a very professional manner. So it always helps to take a nice big deep breath before you do anything rash, right? Always think things through and try to keep calm whenever you do anything, right? It's they teach you that when you start as an attorney. They do make you take a professionalism course, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
After
Yeah.
the bar,
They
that's
do.
that's, that's gonna be the first CLS that you're gonna do, right?
Right.
And continue legal education, so CLE, not CLS, CLE, and that you do, and they go through all that. But it's always important, 100%.
Mm.
Don't make any, don't scream at a client. And you're gonna find, especially in bodily injury, that clients are going through a tough situation, right? They're not
Right.
calling you because they're in their best moment, right? They're calling you because
Right.
they're going through some rough things, and they have injuries, they're in pain, and sometimes they're gonna scream at you, right? Not because they mean it. It's just they're stressed, they're frustrated. It's human nature, right? They're gonna take it out on
Right.
you,
Right.
and you as an attorney, you have to understand that, right? That it's not personal. It's just going through a tough time, and it's your job to sort of calm things down and sort of ease the process for the client and act professionally at all times. So for sure.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful advice. Thank you um, about that. You worked at Student Legal Services. Yes, you were my extern. Was that 3 years ago? I think.
It's been a while, Layne.
It's been a
It's been a
while, I
long
know.
time.
And we were
Yeah.
renovating our offices, right? So we were right down the hallway,
Yeah.
I believe at the time near, yeah, it
Yeah.
was,
They
yeah.
banished us from the office and they sort of set us up in some area with student government. And I remember my desk was just like a stool and one of the just like one of those tables that have like all
Yeah,
the little brochures and
yeah.
everything.
And I had an office the size of a shoebox, right? You
Yeah.
remember? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Next
Every now
door.
and then I would steal Ray's office, and then I would work
That's
from there whenever he wasn't around. Throw things in his trash can, pissed him off whenever he came back.
You're making me laugh now on it. What did you do to my office? Should I even ask?
Mm.
You remember? I was out for a few days, I think. We
Oh
took a,
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
family trip.
They actually had me moving around. There was
Yeah.
a few days when I was in Alicia's office, right, and I was afraid to touch anything. Should I sit in the chair or should I bring something in? Yeah.
Do you remember I used to have, I think it was Marie Kondo, remember the Japanese lady that would thing?
Yeah.
I had to post her up to, what is it? Wearing a helmet, sparks of joy. Do you remember that? I had it up in my office. And do you know how many
100%.
people asked me? They were like, is that Yuko? Yeah. You remember those days? Yeah, that was
Oh
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was yeah, I remember. Yeah, what was the Parks and Recreation story? I have to have you tell that because
Oh yeah.
that was interesting.
What was the name of that actor? Right? Was it Rick something?
It was, yeah, it was. I'll tell the story. So you remember I came in one day with my sunglasses. Okay. And I'll set you up here. Right. And I was wearing my sunglasses and Ray comes along and he goes, hey, George Michael. And I said, I don't look like George Michael. And you actually pulled it up on your phone and you said, actually, Layne, you look exactly like George Michael.
You do look like Michael, especially with those glasses on.
Yeah.
You're like a more attractive version of
Oh,
George Michael for sure.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And you're Bradley Cooper and
Rob Lowe. I
yeah,
remember the name. Yeah,
thank
Rob
you.
Lowe
So
from
you
Parks and
actually,
Recreations.
yeah. You actually told me you were. I remember you patted me on the back. You go, but don't worry, Layne. George Michael was a beautiful human being. And I said, yeah, he left us with a legacy of wonderful music and videos. But the next day you told me, yeah, you said, no, actually, there's Layne, somebody that you really remind me of, right? And what was it? Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, I think the name of the actor is Rob Lowe, if I
Rob
remember
Lowe.
correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I might be having it wrong. The last name for sure. First name, don't remember well. But I
yeah.
don't know his face. And I was like, he looks just like Layne, right? For sure. I think it's the vibe. I don't know, right? Because you do look different, but there's a
Literally,
vibe.
I was going to say literally. Yeah, exactly like Rob Lowe, right?
Yeah.
On that thing, the vibe. No, you said he acts just like you, Layne. And he's positive. He's not, remember I told you I'd never seen it. I had to go home and watch it because I thought, what if this Rob Lowe's a jerk? I bragged, this, I bragged to Yuko and I said, hey, Alfredo says I look like Rob Lowe. And she busted up laughing and she said, he doesn't mean that 1980s heartthrob Rob Lowe. He means him now. And she looked up on the phone, of course, Alfredo, and finds the worst possible picture of Rob Lowe, right? And I was like, oh. And I said, okay, yeah, we've all gotten older, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I try to be positive and everything, and yeah, a little bit of probably a yes person, right? And yeah, yes, we can do that. Literally, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard, right? Those things.
Definitely.
You make me laugh. Was I the only one you were making fun of, or was it others as well in our office?
Well, I think it was mostly you, Layne. Gonna
I'm
nah,
so easy, such an easy target.
let me
Right?
tell you a story, right?
Okay.
Ray
Okay.
doesn't know this because I never told him, but
Okay.
during one time that I was using his office, and I brought lunch and I ate this burger, and then I think I threw the wrapper in his trash can, right? So the next day when he showed up, he got really pissed. He's like, I told you not to throw trash in my trash can, bacon burgers and something else, right? And I didn't say anything, so he never found out it was me. But
Uh-oh.
he still
Now,
doesn't
okay.
know.
Yeah, I will not let him watch this, right? We
He still
will.
doesn't know. But yeah, I think it was me, right? Who dropped our wrapper in his trash can and then started laughing so
Yeah.
hard
I was
for
gonna
his
say,
reaction, right? Because it was nothing. It was just a wrapper.
yeah.
It was,
No. Ray is so clean that he doesn't even put trash in his trash can.
he
Right?
doesn't. That's the thing. He doesn't.
He
And
doesn't. He'll like walk outside and put it away or whatever out of
yeah.
his office, right? So yeah. I think I remember that. He was really upset.
It
By
was-
the way, right?
yeah.
Yeah. You're lucky. Everything is confidential at student legal services that happens there, right? On it. Yeah, you worked with John and Alicia too, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
100%.
quite
Yeah.
a bit. Yeah.
Alicia has this reputation of being real tough, right?
Oh
You
no.
know,
Not in any way, shape, or form, Alfredo.
she was nice to me. I don't know.
She's a sweetheart. Alfredo. Oh, that's too funny. You're telling all our secrets now at there. It was I remember those days because Joy's desk was pushed right outside my office, right?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yep. She
And
was right to my left, and I was right to her right. On the little stool, just floating around the
yeah.
office.
Hey, that summer is the first time I got highlights.
Yeah.
You remember the hair?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the
100%.
first time. And I told everybody, I was like, oh man, I don't want to do it, and yeah, Kim was like, oh, Layne, I want to try the highlights, this year. And so I said, okay, we'll give it a try. Remember, Yuko was in Japan, right?
Yep.
So I said, let's give it a try. Did I tell you the story? I came up and got 2 compliments on the way back up to the office. And I said, why didn't I do this like 10 years ago? On it. I need your hair, Alfredo. Give me your hair.
Well, Layne, let me tell you, it won't be around for long the way it's going. Look at this,
No,
pitching
no,
up
no.
there.
No. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. What's interesting to me, Alfredo, if I can ask about this, because it is interesting. You and I were talking about it. How many redheaded Cubans, right? You were talking, it's more common than we would think, right?
There's a few, right? There's a few,
Yeah.
but well, we are rare for sure, right? There's not a lot of redheaded Cubans. It's only a couple. I can probably count them in my fingers, the number I've seen, but because I keep track. Every time I see
What
another one, I'm like, oh my God, there's one more.
was it your grandmother though?
Yeah, my
Was
grandmother.
was red haired,
Yep.
right? Is that right?
100%. My dad, no red hair, none of my uncles, and nobody from my mom's family. In my generation, I'm the only one who got it, right? So it's a bit of a surprise.
Can you tell me the story? I don't know if you mind sharing the story when you were on the bus. Remember in Cuba, and you said the old lady.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. She thought I was Russian because she looked at my complexion, right? And Cuba has a relationship with first the Soviet Union and then with Russia for a long time. She's like, oh, look at that, the Russians are back, right? The Soviets are getting back in here because she saw me and she saw the red hair and the pale skin, and then I would answer, I answered her in perfect Spanish, Señora, yo soy cubano, right? Ma'am, I'm Cuban, and she started to laugh. She's like, I know. He tried to save it. She's like, I know, but you kind of look like you're Russian.
Alfredo, that's so interesting. And we'll take a break in just a second, but I want to end it with this. Thank you for that story. I love that story. You've got the best. I would tell everybody this. Alfredo has the best collection of stories ever. Just absolutely amazing. I think you were regaling us every day with these amazing stories. I think. What Tell us some interesting stories, interesting matters that you've handled. What we call kind of war stories, can be anything, Alfredo, you growing up or anything. Let's leave it on a positive note for now before we go to part two.
Well, there's some stories I can't tell, some that I can't, some that small that are safe for.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
if we're talking about here at the office, as far as my time as being an attorney,
Yeah.
right? Um, you're gonna run into some interesting things, right? It's gonna be some clients that are gonna be pretty tough, right? And they're gonna be a little hard to deal with, and that's normal, right? Some clients are easier than others, and just gotta keep your cool, and make it happen. I can't really tell you all the details of what happens in
Oh,
here because
sure.
attorney-client
Confidential.
privilege
Yeah,
and
exactly.
all of that, right? But we had collisions where it's been 7 cars involved, and the one person who caused it, right? Essentially, this person hit a vehicle and then hit another vehicle. Then tried to run away from the scene and hit another vehicle that caused another 4 vehicle collision. Like we've seen things like that. They're pretty horrific, right? And then this person has no insurance. So what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
And that's the rough part of injury protection, right? Bodily injury. There's also cases that we call catastrophic cases. And that's the case when you see like a semi truck hit a small vehicle and right, and you can see where
Yeah.
it's going, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody got out there alive essentially, and there's a wrongful death part of that as well. And so you're gonna see cases like that, right? They're pretty nasty. There's some cases with very bad injuries, and cases with very bad collision damages, right? The car is an accordion, right? It gets squashed in between
Yeah.
one big
Are
car and another car.
are you having to look over the pictures and everything?
Yes, of course, 100%. Right, and you get all of the cases, and you gotta see everything, and you gotta see some nasty things, right? Some very bad bruises, very bad cuts, and you see injuries that are pretty horrific at times. It's just part of the job, and you gotta do what you can to help your client out, for sure, and try to get into that bad time, right? There's clients that call you and they're like, "I'm in horrible pain, I got pain here, pain over here. I haven't been able to work. My car's in a body shop, right? And they won't release it, or not so much the body shop, the toy yard, right?
Yeah.
That's another big problem
We've
that we
seen.
have here.
Yeah.
And yeah, with sometimes the client's vehicle gets towed and then they have no way to get it out of the tow yard because they don't have the money to bail it out
They're
essentially.
not working now, right? So they can't pay
Yeah.
the money to get it out of the tow yard.
And meanwhile, this car is getting fees and it's getting worse and
Yeah.
worse. And the client has no car. It's like, I need the car to work, please help me, it really needs to happen. And you see that every day here, right? and it's my job to make things happen afterwards. I'm a bit of an expert as far as PD, right? PD being property damage. Here at the office, they kind of send me most of the cases when they're difficult when it comes to property damage, and that's as far as the vehicle, right? The vehicle usually. And although technically, like if you hit a fence, that's also property damage, or you knock
Right.
down a lamppost. But for our purposes, we're talking about a car, and that's it's always a big challenge, right? Getting the insurance to get the car out if the client can't do it. Sometimes the client doesn't have collision, right? I don't know if you know what collision is, right? But that's an optional insurance that you can buy in your policy. And if you have collision, your own insurance will deal with the car repairs, right?
Thank you. So Alfredo,
Yeah.
we do recommend that our students that have nicer cars, right, get the collision insurance, right, for that reason.
Always.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
to have collision, especially
Thank
here
you.
in Florida and South Florida, even more.
Yeah,
You need to be insured yourself. You gotta protect yourself, because you don't protect yourself, nobody else is, right? So have collision just in case. There's a lot of people out there who drive without insurance, right? And they cause all kinds of accidents. That's just a reality of life. And sometimes, even if you bring them to court, you sue, right, for your injuries and your PD and all that. And if they have no assets, or they have, they don't earn much, right? You can probably garnish their wages, but
we
and
and we had an interesting case. I remember a poor student had lost a license, right, because she did not have personal injury liability
yeah,
insurance,
yeah.
right?
And
And yeah,
yeah, the basics that you need to be able to drive here in the state of Florida, it's a PIP, personal injury protection, that covers your medical bills up to a certain limit, right? I think it's for most people, unless you have some sort of expanded PIP coverage, there'll be 80% up to a maximum of 10,000, and that's what it covers. And then the other necessity that you need is a PD, and PD is property damage coverage, and that will cover the damages of the other vehicle if you're at fault, right? If the other person's at fault, then their property damage coverage is supposed to cover yours in your vehicle, right? And waiting on the other party always takes a long time, because their insurance has to do a liability investigation. They gotta see who's at fault, who's not at fault. If you have collision, you can immediately get the vehicle resolved, because it's not based on fault, right? Whether you were
right.
at fault or not, if you have collision coverage, it should be able to cover your car, right? Unless there's some problems with the policy, there's some exclusions somewhere, which could happen, and I'll be happy to talk about all that. Not
Yeah.
that I'm an expert in bodily injury and personal injury. And
But you strongly recommend getting the collision if you can
yes,
afford it,
I
right?
always do. I always do recommend it. And there are some pitfalls, right? You gotta be careful of. For example, with normal policies, you're in front of the mill, your State Farm, your Geico, the policy you have and I have. If they catch you doing something like Uber or Lyft or any sort of rideshare, there's those policies usually have exclusions, right?
Right.
So they might deny coverage. They'll deny PIP for sure. Sometimes they do give collision regardless. You get lucky, but there are situations that I've seen around here where they're denied the collision coverage too, right? And the car is either Toya or already at the body shop, and then they deny, and then you have to wait on defendant's insurance to resolve the problem, and it becomes a big hassle. So, that's one thing that could happen. Another pitfall that happens to people often is that they live with several other human beings in their house, right? And it's just not just them. They're them, their husband, maybe their kids are already, 16, 17, they have a driver's license, but they're not in the policy, right? And most policies require you to essentially, whoever lives with you, you have to report to the insurance. You got to put it in the
Right.
policy, even if they don't drive your vehicle, right? There'll be an excluded driver, but they have to be in the policy. And anybody over 14 years old, some policies say 15, and they gotta be there. So that's another pitfall that happens to lots of clients, and they get their PIP denied for that reason. Or maybe, the son or the daughter or the husband that wasn't in the policy was driving the car, and then all right,
Yeah.
but weren't they in the
It,
policy, and it becomes a problem. So,
yeah. No, Alfredo, thank you for telling us all these pitfalls because, I when our daughter, right, was
mhm,
started driving, got her real driver's license, when she was permitted, now it was the same rates because I was
mhm,
considered the driver, even though she was operating, right?
yeah,
But the moment she got that driver's license, not the permit,
mhm,
our insurance coverage doubled, skyrocketed overnight.
Yeah,
And, people don't want to pay it, but like you said, if you don't pay it, right, and something happens, all of a sudden, yeah, you're really out potentially a
yeah,
lot of money in coverage, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get your pay benefits. You might not get your collision either, and that's a big problem, right? Then you have to depend solely on defendant's insurance, assuming he has insurance, right?
Assuming,
Yeah,
yeah,
if
which can
there's
be
no
a big one.
insurance, you're in a big trouble, right? Because at that point, the only thing left is to go to court, and it may not be worth it. Depending again, it's an economic decision you have to make.
Before we break, last question. Do you recommend uninsured, underinsured motorist insurance as well?
I do,
Okay.
100%, 100%, because bodily injury insurance is not required here in Florida. You don't need it to
Yeah.
drive. You just need the PIP and the PD. So there's most people. Well, I don't know if most people, but many people don't have it. It's just either they can't afford it or it's just they don't, it's not required. So why should I pay for it? Um, so they won't have any coverage for your injuries, right? If they hit you and you're hurt, PIP only pays so much. Maybe you got 20,000 in medical bills, right? You don't got
Right.
20,000. So where are you gonna get the rest? That's where uninsured motorist comes in, or
Okay.
underinsured motorist comes in, right? It's gonna help you out if that person doesn't have insurance, or maybe right they do have bodily injury insurance, but they have the basic, 10/20. That's 10 per person, 20 per accident, and your bills are way higher, right? You have pain, you
Yeah.
have suffering, and you
Right.
deserve to be compensated for your pain and suffering as well, especially if you have permanent injuries, like a herniation, for example. That's considered a permanent injury. Then you can go and try to get coverage for BI, right? You can make a claim against that. And then
Right.
after you get that, a tender from that, you can still make another claim against your own UM and possibly get another check, right? To really make you whole. Because that's the idea. You're going to be made whole after you had an injury and you had all these losses. So I always recommend it. It's the safest thing to do, right? It's prudent. It's the prudent option because you're safe, right? If the other person has no insurance, there's something that's protecting you, and even if they do, there's something else on top in case your injuries are extra serious. And so I do 100%.
Thank you. Thank you, Alfredo. We're going to take a quick break here, and we can all wash our hands, and we will be right back for part 2. Thank you again, and we'll be right back.